Welcome to Ross Perspective. In this video, I have a great conversation with the incredibly gifted musician Alexander Seaver, more commonly recognised under his musical alias, Mako, known for the magic behind the beautifully crafted original soundtrack of Netflix's Arcane League of Legends, as well as his own records spanning genres from electronic dance music to indie rock.
How did you get into music?
I actually started as a trumpet and then a French horn player. Of all weird instruments, for some reason I gravitated towards the French horn. And I don't know, I got really into it. I went to conservatory in New York. I went to a school called Juilliard, and I thought I was going to be a professional French horn player until I moved to Los Angeles and was acquainted with electronic dance music. So then I got distracted by that for a while, raving and going to clubs and DJing and stuff. And then I learned how to write songs, learned how to do pop music, and then eventually met my friends at Riot Games and kind of combined everything into one big soup. And that's basically what I do today.
Do you have a preferred part of the music making process? Because it seems like you've dabbled in sort of every aspect of it.
It's a good question. Like, I do like that my week is kind of a nice even spread of a couple different things. That being said, I like producing a lot. I'm just not as good at it as I am at other things that I like a little bit less. Like I like writing songs is probably like what I'm most known for and most useful to many people with, but it's not necessarily my favorite thing to do all week. I just like making instrumentals. But sometimes you gotta kind of just go with what comes natural, even if it's not exactly your favorite thing to do.
Yeah. Do you think like the sort of challenge that comes with the stuff you're not as good at feels better when you've finished it, if that makes sense?
It does. It's just sort of like over the years, you want to feel a sense of improvement at certain things. And I can just tell that I improve slowly at some of these things, and other things I improve quickly at. And so part of that is also like the way you go about your process and just kind of like almost hacking your own brain to figure out how can I be the most efficient version of myself? How can I get the most out of my days with the brain that I have? And so sometimes I think my strategy is just keep hitting my head against a wall when I should be pursuing other ways about things. But, you know, that's all part of the process.
You mentioned that when you moved to LA, you sort of got hooked on EDM type music. You've made a change, I guess, into like sort of indie rock. What brought that about?
I think that was just the natural progression of what I liked as a fan. I was, all of 21 years old when I moved to Los Angeles, so I was very much ready to go out and party all the time. And then I think after, also some of that scene started to feel a little stale to me. Like it was incredibly inspiring, and I felt like the music being made was very, very good and very interesting. And I could tell that in that specific little scene I was in, everybody kind of started running out of ideas, and things started to sound more formulaic and be a little less surprising. And I think about that time, I just kind of naturally stopped listening to as much of it, and then just falling in love with. It's weird because like I literally didn't even listen to bands or DJs or anything when I was growing up. I just listened to orchestras and classical music. So there's just like so much open range of things I'd never even been exposed to before. And, I'd go to a festival out here like Coachella, and I'd stay most of the time at the DJ set, but then I'd wander over and I'd be introduced to like M83 or bands like that. And I'm like, oh, I really like this. What the hell is this? And then that just sort of propelled me forward into exploring more of that stuff.
Do you think that sort of love of classical music growing up helps in terms of like composing music and stuff? Because I guess you've got like the fundamentals with that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it helps and it hurts a little bit. Like, I think I have a real quick aptitude for understanding music and chords and music language very quickly. I love density, and I don't think I'm surprised by many things. But I also think like what makes a really successful contemporary musician is like understanding how to simplify things and make things digestible and make things approachable for all audiences. And I don't think classical music is very good at that stuff. I think it specifically is kind of not doing most of that stuff. So I think there's like a little bit of good with the bad. So it's been a lot of like, all right, what are the things that make me like a unique creator because of my background? And then also, what are the things that make me a little bit of like a weirdo where I should actually like pay attention to, how do people digest music every day?
And you mentioned Riot Games, so obviously you've done loads of music for Arcane. How did that come about?
I'd been writing songs for Riot Games for probably like 5 years prior to Arcane even being in development. So I was kind of like in the mix there for a while, and we really built like a kind of a cool musical wing of Riot, just because the people above us that make those decisions, they love music and they really wanted music to be a central part of the game League of Legends. And so I was writing these like big worlds anthems every year for them. We would do cool champion skins when they'd release a new champion, and there's just like a lot of cool music in the mix. And then one of their very brilliant people floating around is named Christian, and he is the showrunner for Arcane, and eventually he pulled me and a couple people into a room and played us what he was working on, and we were all blown away. And he was just like, come make music for this, and we were like, hell yeah. Like, it was no decision after that, we were just in. I want you to hold like you hurt me
today. With a process like that, how does that work? So are you shown a sort of brief? Because obviously each scene that there's a piece of music in, it sort of matches that scene. So like, do you get to see that first, or do they work on it from their end after you've made the song?
It's a good question. It's a very long process because animation takes a long time. So it'll always start off with a meeting. So I'll go either to our animation studio is called Fortiche, and they're based in Paris. So I would either fly out there, or we'd just get on really early Zooms. And it would usually be Christian and Fortiche and myself and Alex Temple, the composer. And we just talk through everything. Like, what are they going for? What are the characters going through? What are the things they're thinking about? Just very like holistically, like what does this scene mean to people and mean to our story? Fortiche will have a couple sketches, but they are very early on. It's kind of like, hand sketches and pencil sketches at first. So it's a little hard to make out everything on screen, especially at the level of detail that you see when it's all finished. And so it's kind of like a step-by-step process where I'll usually take the conversation they give me and I'll write a demo off of what that makes me feel like. And then a couple months later, they'll send like a first early version that's like unrendered of the scene. And then that'll inform a little bit more, so that I might fill in the production a little bit more. And then at a certain point, we'll pick a good artist to plug into it. It's like, and we did 22 songs for season 2, so it's a long process, but it's kind of like hot potato, where every time I finish enough of one idea, I just move on to a different episode or a different scene, and then eventually I'll move back to this one when it's kind of further along. So we just kind of slowly develop all these songs over time.
There's so many different artists working on the original soundtrack. I know you're involved in quite a lot of the songs. Do you have a way of keeping a sort of consistent tone in terms of like each scene?
Yeah, I mean, that was the great question. I think it was like, because they wanted to double the amount of songs in season 2, question 1 was like, holy cow, like, can we do this? And then question 2 was like, how can we make this thing consistent with what are the aspirations of our team? Are like, we want a very global soundtrack. We want artists from all over the world. We want songs in different languages. We want genres all across the board. How do you like design this so that it's just not this weird, gross, muddy pot of songs that don't exist together? And I think in the end, like, it's just because, so I wrote a bunch of the songs, but I also executive produced the whole album. So I worked with every artist in some capacity on making sure that they were getting their songs, over the line. And I think like, because the story dictated every decision we made, like, we'd bring an artist in and we want them to do their genre of music, but we're like, write a song about this story. And just by the nature of everybody looking up at the screen and looking at these characters and looking at this story, everything just kind of coolly came together in this way that feels cohesive, at least to me. Like, when I listen across it, I'm not really jarred by the differences in genres. It's like refreshing to bounce from one style to another style. And when you watch the show, it just kind of feels like Arcane. Part of that is also the way Fortiche animated a lot of our music moments. They would like kind of switch mediums almost and like do a whole scene in charcoal all of a sudden, or do a scene that kind of looks like comic book 2D strips. They had a lot of fun with it as well. So I think it was just kind of like, we're all embracing the wildness of the choices we were making in the music together. And I think over time we were like, wow, I think this is actually working.
Yeah, it's cool that you mentioned that, because it does have a very music video feel. like each scene, but it also fits, so it's not too like out of place.
That was part of it too, is like my job was to really film score everybody's songs. So in some cases I'm just writing the whole thing myself, but in other cases I'll just have an artist, I'll kind of prep an environment for them that's comfortable for them to write a song. And for a lot of artists, they don't really know how to write songs to picture or film score, so I don't ask them to. Like it was important to be like, let's find out where you're comfortable, you make music in that space, and then I'll help get it on screen. And so everything we're doing on screen is matching picture really closely, and we're weaving them in as basically as close as we can, so that everything feels like it's just living together perfectly, rather than maybe what we're all used to on other kinds of television shows and movies, where they'll just like license a song from an artist and kind of slap it over a montage, and it just kind of like they exist in two different planes. We would just try and like weave it all together, and I worked super closely with our sound design team too, to make sure that like their sound design and our music was coalescing in a nice way, and it just created this really cool thing that felt like it was all like intentional.
That definitely comes through. I think like you can tell just from watching like any of it, the amount of work that's been put into it, particularly with the music. It's incredible.
Yeah, all across the board. I mean, you look at the animation and you're like, they're putting detail and Easter eggs and depth into it at a level that I'm not used to seeing, and that kind of ups everybody else's game, where you're like, shit, well, our sound and our dialogue and our voice actors, like everything better step up to the level of what we're looking at.
And obviously like a lot of these songs, so like one of yours, like What Have They Done to Us, it adds a whole new depth to the scene. Do you maybe have a theory on like why that is?
Yeah, it's funny. Like I was trying to find things out there in the world to like compare what we were doing to, as like a helpful guide on like how do you do this, and there's not a lot of stuff out there. I mean, it's like Disney style musicals where the characters do sing the songs. Those songs are embedded very closely into their projects, but the characters sing the songs, so it also kind of felt different than what we were doing, which is like we're having like these omniscient voices above you as you suddenly hear Sting or 21 Pilots or whatever. How do we make that all kind of work? But yeah, I don't know, I like it because it's like the lyrics that are being sung are about this world, the instrumentation choices are reflected on what we're seeing on screen with the painting and the animation. And I don't know, I think depth is a great word they use. It's just like I just feel really deeply, I feel like I'm leaning all the way into this thing. And I think one of the things that makes Arcane special is like the more you invest in it, it will give back to you like tenfold. Like if you really want to pay attention to the background characters in Arcane, you'll notice weird storylines that they have on their own without even having dialogue. And if you pay attention to the lyrics and the songs you're hearing, you're getting information and nuggets, and you know, like a Shuriman language that we invented that little kids sing. There's just so much inside of there that it creates the sensation of like, if you want to just watch it surface level, you'll have a nice time. But if you want to like dig deep or rewatch it, you're just going to keep getting more out of it. And I think all of us on the team really love that kind of art, and the things that we would talk about that we love watching is that kind of stuff, you know?
Do you think after your work on Arcane, it's maybe sort of influenced like where you'd like to go with your music?
Yeah, it's kind of like changed everything for me. I don't think I've ever felt as connected and inspired to anything as much as I've felt to this. Honestly, it's like a little bit of a grieving process right now because the show's over. So I'm also like, it's weird to not have it in your life. I've been working on both seasons over the last 6 years, and that was just a very comforting feeling to know that every day I could kind of come to work and get to dive into this world. And it's really like weird and interesting to like not have it in my life. So I'm also like kind of trying to just like, it's like you're like on the International Space Station and you're just trying to regrow your bones now that you're back on Earth and just get used to the gravity here. So I kind of feel like that a little bit, but it's really informed like, damn, this is why we make music. This is why I make music, is to feel this way about it. So I think it's also kind of set a standard for myself of like, I'm just on a quest now to find more things that feel this great. And it really what it is, it's like amazing storytelling, and being part of a great team that cares about what they're doing. And like, that's just like, it's great when it's like that.
I hope that a show like Arcane will sort of inspire more shows like that to be created where the music is in such a sort of like close relationship with the animation.
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, I feel really happy whenever anything else pops up that has like a soundtrack that it cares about. Like even just the Barbie soundtrack was really inspiring for me, where it's like, oh yeah, this is like, it's coming from a singular voice. It's, you know, the director Greta and Mark Ronson, and then all these great artists, and all the songs are here to like push this environment forward. And I just like, I really get excited when other things do that, because like you're saying, like it kind of inspires the rest of the industry to like focus more on its music.
Now that Arcane's finished, he released recently the like a remix or a remaster. What's the word?
Yeah, it's kind of like a remix. I haven't really known what to call it either, but it's basically a remix. An extended version is what we were thinking, because it's like we turned what was pretty short song into a full-length song, but also like the genre is totally different the way it would be in a remix.
What inspired that and the collaboration with Sasha Sloan?
Yeah, the funny thing was myself and Gray, we were actually developing that the whole time that we were developing the other version. And for a while, we actually didn't know which version we wanted to put in the episode. And my director really liked the guitar-y kind of chorus that we have in this extended version. And so we kept like kind of parallel pathing it. And it just got to a certain point where it felt like the environment of the scene itself was so like still and jarring and dark that I felt like the kind of peppier stuff wasn't really working as well. It wasn't really like making me feel the way that I wanted to feel. And so I just kind of asked them like, hey, we'd love to make this. We'd love to still release this version. We really like it. And our team was cool. They didn't know at that time like how we do it, but they were like, yeah, we'll just keep it in our back pocket. And then eventually we found out that Sasha was a fan of the show, and we played her the song, and she was really open to doing it with us. And it was actually like an awesome experience for me, because I'm a huge fan of hers. I've loved her music for many years. And she was great. It was kind of effortless. She just sent me an acapella, and she's like, is this good? Do you like this? And I was like, this is beautiful. And then we just I put it in the production, and it was perfect.
Is there anyone else you'd love to collaborate with?
There's so many people I love so much. The one I always say, because it's just fun, is that the reason I got into film scoring was when the movie How to Train Your Dragon came out when I was in college, and the composer John Powell is just a guy whose music I admire so much, and I would love to like write a song on a movie that he's doing and be able to work with him on it or something like that. I think that would be super fun. But there's also just so many artists that I really love. Yeah, like I mentioned, like M83, that it was somebody I've been a fan of a long time. There's just so many people. A couple of the people that would have been all-timers for me, we actually were able to get for Arcane, like Stromae and Woodkid were two artists that I just like have always loved deeply on a personal level. So it's kind of fun to like tick off a couple boxes too.
If you can decide, what would be the favorite song you've worked on?
This is the toughest question. Oh man, it's so hard. I think in season 1, I always go to like Guns for Hire and What Could Have Been are probably like two real big pillars for me, where I was just like incredibly proud of the song, the moment, the artists that were involved, and the way that like audiences felt about it. Season 2 is very hard because there's just so damn many songs. One of the ones that I always like to just like give a little love to, because it meant a lot to me, was Sucker, the song in episode 2. Get the fuck out of my head, so long, sucker. Just because I worked really hard on that one. But then like the song with Stromae was an all-timer for me. The Heimerdinger song, working with our voice actor Mick, was so great. Wasteland at the it's just like, that's the problem, is then I just start like going from song to song to song. But yeah, there's a lot of them that I love.
Well, I guess it's great you got a huge body of work that you're proud of.
Yeah, totally. It's a good problem to have.